Hello folks, welcome back to Three Barrow Farm. My name is Amy and we live here on Dja Dja Wurrung country in central Victoria, Australia, and I'm just out here almost about to harvest some herbs to put in the dehydrator, and I thought I'd chat about where the garden's at. I've done a lot of work in my garden to get rid of the poppies. They had all gone to seed. I've saved some of the seed heads to use in some displays, and I pulled the rest out. So as you can see behind me, there is new ground to plant into, and I've pretty much planted out this area with another lot of potatoes. And I thought I would talk about potatoes today because beside me I have a patch that is dying off. So I'm trying to think back to when I planted this patch of potatoes, and I believe it was either the end of September or the start of October. Hello, Luna. And I have noticed that there are quite decent sized potatoes in this patch. Let me just root around for one right now. Okay, here we go. Here's one here. And that is quite a decent sized potato considering the short amount of time I've had this lot in my patch. I've also got some smaller sized ones, but these ones I've noticed have had a bit of a yellowy tinge for a couple of weeks. I don't know if they're getting too much water. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, why they are dying off so soon. Perhaps it is this crazy weather that we're having where we're getting a lot of rain in the span of one day, and then we have really dry spells. And of course I'm irrigating the gardens, and yeah, they're perhaps getting too much rain, or perhaps the soil needs a little bit more nutrients here than it has. But I'm pretty happy if I get a good amount of potatoes out of this patch. I'm keen to leave this patch for another week or so and just see how it goes. I'll probably harvest in the next dry patch that we have. We've got some rain coming up starting tomorrow, so I'm out here to get herbs and put them in my dehydrator, but I want to harvest the herbs right now while they're dry, and then they'll dry faster in the dehydrator. I managed to move most of the tomatoes that have been growing in my medicinal herb patch over there, and I've popped them in rows along the mesh that I have here and the next line over. Some of them are doing better than others. It was kind of a hot day 2 days later after doing them, and some of them sort of wilted a bit even though I was watering them. I think they just got a bit of transplant shock, so hopefully they do all right. And if the heads that are drooping at the moment don't work out, I'll just let another leader take its place, and then we will have a healthy tomato plant, hopefully, fingers crossed. I have one more patch of onions that really need to be harvested, but I'm waiting for them to dry off a lot more. Now, in the past I've had issues with leaving my onions in the ground longer and there being a downpour of rain. But I'm hoping after this patch of rain there'll be another week of dry. This seems to be the pattern that the weather is taking at the moment. It'll rain for a day and then there's a week of dry and then it will rain again. And we'll see how the onions go. If all else fails, I'll just freeze the onion. I can already see that a few of the onions that I harvested in the last batch are too sort of soft and they're not really drying all that well, so I'm just cooking them and we're eating them fresh. But a whole heap of them are drying really nicely, and I look forward to braiding them all and putting them up in the food store. So I'm just going to take you on a small little walk around my garden and show you what I'm noticing at the moment. And one thing that I am noticing just right now as I walked past, I haven't seen the flowers open yet, but my clary sage is flowering, so lovely. very excited. Every now and then I am coming and pruning my tomatoes. Some of them are almost as tall as the Rio mesh that I have here, so that's very exciting. And I've got plenty of green tomatoes on the plants. Even though the frost cloth that I got didn't last very long in some of my patches, it definitely did a fantastic job at getting these tomatoes on their way early, and I'm a bit excited. I might have tomatoes in December. Who knows? I usually have them definitely in February. It is hit and miss as to whether I get them in January. Generally, I don't. It's usually February, March, April, and then I try and harvest as much before the frost comes. I'm sitting here now in my medicinal herb section of my vegetable garden, and I've been harvesting so many of the medicinal herbs here. It really makes me happy to have so many in store now to make my medicine from. And in front of me here are the two Black Beauty zucchini plants, which are doing really well. I did some hand pollinating of the flowers, and the next lot that are coming through are working, so I'm really excited about that. We shall have zucchinis before we know it. The basil and the cucumbers and the watermelon and rock melons are taking a little bit longer to take off, and I think with this warmer weather they are much happier now. I have one more lot of seedlings to plant out of zucchini, rock melon. I think some of the watermelon seedlings worked. I'm not sure if the watermelon will actually grow down here. I really needed to get it off and away much earlier than now. But the rock melon should be fine because it is suitable for colder climate. So I have chosen all of the rock melon varieties to be suitable for where we're living. And of course the zucchini will be fine, and we will have zucchinis coming out of our ears, I'm sure, because that's what happens with zucchinis. And it's just so peaceful and lovely to sit out here and listen to the birds, and the dogs are running around. They love it at this time of the day. It's nice and cool and just so enjoyable. My sunflowers, oh wow. So last growing season, my sunflowers bloomed in February, March. And this year we had some last month, just at the end of the month. And now we have a lot of sunflowers in December, and they all came up from the seed from the last season's sunflowers. I did not plant any of them, and they survived through all of the frosts that we had. We had some heavy frosts too, and I feel like they're really hardy in this climate now. And yeah, so it's a win for the sunflowers, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the fact that I will have a nice display of sunflowers for Christmas. The apple trees are doing well, but unfortunately we have the mosaic disease. I'm not entirely sure what it's called because I'm not the fruit tree expert, my husband is. But yeah, we've got mosaic on some of our apples, which unfortunately we will have to dig those apple trees out. It is a disease that can spread, so we're gonna cut them out and burn them. It's not great. I know that the heritage orchard that we got our graftings from are really suffering with it, so perhaps we've picked it up from there. So the aim is to just, try and cut out the ones that have it and not let it pass on to the others. There's one beautiful patch of poppies behind me right here in this spot, and more potatoes as well. And I'm not sure if you can see, but behind me all the peas have dried off, and I'm going to cut them out and use them as pea straw. And of course, as always, my dogs decide now to do all their playing and barking at each other. But I'll try and just continue talking. So I'm going to collect some of the seed. I'm going to try and do that tonight or tomorrow morning before it rains. But yeah, I've got lots of pea straw to use in the garden. What I might do is just cut it off the Rio as much as I can and just flatten it down onto the ground. Alright, they're having a drinking break. So what I'm going to do is basically harvest what seed I can and yeah, just cut the pea straw, what's left, the pea vines off the Rio, smash them down onto the ground and plant into the soil. And yeah, there'll be some pea straw covering for whatever goes in there next. So a very exciting thing happened this week. We had the first chick hatch from under our mama hen, who's been sitting for the past, well, 23 days now. So we put eggs under her for 3 days. So this chick was born on Monday and it was born a day early, and I feel like the hot weather must have brought it on earlier. So they were due on Tuesday. Today is Thursday and the rest are due to hatch today. We've seen some cracking of some eggs and a little chick sort of moving around. So we're hoping that those other ones are going to hatch tonight and tomorrow. And yeah, then we'll have some chicks for our flock. And I know that my kids have taken some footage as well, so I shall put that in here for you to see too. So I don't know if I've mentioned in previous videos, but I'm really feeling the lack of herbs, culinary herbs and lettuce in my garden at the moment. The only lettuce that I have that's ready to eat is the deer tongue, the Amish deer tongue lettuce. And it's starting to go a little bit bitter, which means it's getting older, and it's also coming up. I can see that it's going to set seed soon. So I have planted some more seeds, and fingers crossed everything sprouts, and sooner than later we will have more lettuce and parsley. I'm giving coriander another go, but I know that bolts really fast, so we shall see how that goes. The basil is coming along nicely, it's just quite slow, and I'm hoping that the warmer weather will speed it up. So that's all I've really got time for today. I will put a little bit more footage that I've taken over the past week or two, and I will be back for more updates as things progress. I'm excited about harvesting our first zucchini, and I'm also interested to see how my next lot of seedlings go being put in the ground in December. We shall see, but I have high hopes for all the cucumbers and rock melons. I really hope that they work. I've got a few plants that are doing all right now, so I'm very pleased about that. I hope your garden is thriving and you're getting lots into the ground before we have to stop and just wait for everything to grow so we can harvest and enjoy the bounty that we will receive. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.